What about Jared Leto? Is he too weird to hang out with?
I see him at things every so often. It's nice to see him, but it's not like,
The short 19 episodes were a sad end to what might have been the most excellent movie of all time. Yet its impact on those 19 scenes was explosive, and it even sparked an online campaign that demanded it be returned to the screens. If you were ever a fan of the series or are just looking for your next interesting watch, here are 20 weird facts you didn't know about My So-Called Life that'll blow your mind. Number 20. It premiered the first openly gay teenager to appear on American network television. The show, which was created to depict the life of teens and young adults, introduced the character of Ricky Vasquez, who was Primetime's first recurring role of a GI teenager. Wilson Cruz played this character. On the show, when Ricky decided to let his family know of his sexuality, he was sent out of his uncle's residence just before Christmas, alone and afraid to tell anyone, his friends included, why his uncle had kicked him out. He was in fact scared to mention the word G on the series until the final episode, where he had to tell a girl why he had turned her down. This was the reality of many gay teens, yet it had not been portrayed on television screens before. At the time of production, this was a nearly unheard-of phenomenon. In fact, a series of protests had arisen due to the portrayal of gay characters on television, and many movie producers received hate mail. The series creator, Winnie Holtzman, however, is noted to have said, "There are gays in the world, why shouldn't they be on TV? We never received hate mail or got targeted for any protest. I have to say, it gave me a good feeling." Even the ABC network was not left behind in seeing this message come to fruition. This was because some concerns at the beginning of the series surrounded Ricky's natural tendency to want to wear makeup and hang out in the girls' room. However, the network was gracious enough not to pressure the producers to do things differently. The creator said that Cruz also noted that he received emails from teenagers who claimed his role as a GI teenager saved their lives. In his words, "It sounds corny, but some letters you can see where the tears fell on the page. The fact that Ricky had an arc of pain, joy, and friendship was hopeful to many kids who wrote to me." Some teenagers have described the power of influence Ricky's character has had on them. As one fondly recalls, "I identified with Ricky, his confusion, his difficulty with his family. I told my mom I'm gay, but not my dad. I could really relate to the episode where Ricky's father throws him out of the house. He was the first of his kind. A teenager who wasn't afraid to admit his existence on American television. It took another 5 years before any other movie featured another GI teenager." Number 19. Greg Berlanti described the show as the most painfully honest drama about adolescence ever on television. Despite being a brief show that lasted only 19 episodes, My So-Called Life is one movie that has left a lasting impact on many. The show, with a cast of about 30 people, was discontinued because it clashed with another popular television show, NBC Friends, which aired at the same 8 p.m. However, before being discontinued, it left a lasting legacy for both the cast, modern family drama, and its structure, and influenced a generation of television writers. Even Greg Berlanti, the creator of the WB's Everwood and Jack and Bobby, acknowledged it. He described the show as the most painfully honest portrayal of adolescence ever on television. The writer had created magic by depicting the life of a 15-year-old high school sophomore, Angela Chase, who had grown apart from her parents. It also showed her best friend, Sharon Chersky, and the brainiac boy next door named Brian Krakow. He showed their interaction and how they influenced each other, making it an impressive movie that made each character look complicated and real. Berlanti would say, "It had a tremendous impact on me." We reference the show at least once weekly in the writer's room here. When I think about My So-Called Life, I think about that line in Star Wars, when Obi-Wan Kenobi tells Darth Vader, "If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can imagine." That's exactly what happened here. Number 18. The Indiana Band. The Ataris were influenced by the show. The American punk rock music band from Anderson, Indiana, the Ataris, was formed in 1996. Over the years, its composition has evolved, with the only constant band member being the songwriter, Christopher Rowe. Their album, Look Forward to Failure, featured 6 songs EP, with the remarkable ones being San Dimas High School Football Rules, where they sang about a girl, a crush, and a boy's need to try to obtain the love of the girl he lusts after. This was followed closely by My So-Called Life and ended with That Special Girl. The My So-Called Life single was inspired by Chris's movie star crush, Claire Danes, whom he carried everywhere he went. This song was written as a love song to her and was titled after the 19-episode series My So-Called Life. Number 17. A novelization was written to continue where the movie had left off. Following the abrupt end of the television series and the failed attempts at continuing it, the fans were eager for any other updates on My So-Called Life. They were not to wait too long, as on the 27th of July, 1999, a second book in Angela Chase's series was released. It was titled My So-Called Life Goes On, and was written by Catherine Clark and was published by Random House Books for young readers. It was an all-new novel based on the television series that had left people hungry for more. Some plots were tweaked, while some remained constant. However, one thing was sure. It would be a long, hot summer for Angela Chase and her friends. Angela returns to Jordan and begins working in her dad's restaurant. As for Brian, his love interest towards Angela remains the same even while he searches for Dela Fisher and remains besotted by an older woman. On the other hand, Ricky finds himself in love for the first time while Sharon broke her vow to ditch Kyle and suffered the consequences. Rayanne, on the other hand, got in and out of several jobs, but I'd determined to explore the idea topmost on her mind. Number 16. The show was conceived after 30-something was canceled. Winnie Holtzman was approached by Herskovitz and his co-creator Edward Zwick to brainstorm a new show. She then came up with an uncensored depiction of teenage life. According to her, this was because most shows about teenagers of the early 90s were very exploitative about sexuality and were meant to depict what they wanted them to, rather than the inside experiences of what it meant to be an adolescent. To grasp the concept of teenage life, Holtzman delved into full-time research and even taught classes at Fairfax High School in Los Angeles for a few days. While there, she kept a diary and journaled entries from the perspectives of a teenage girl. It was these entries that formed the basis for Angela's voiceovers. She then named the title character Angela. This name was gotten from the name of the niece of a script coordinator on 30-something. In her words, "She mentioned to me that she had a young teenage niece named Angela. I had a phone conversation with Angela and it really affected me. I remember she said something like, 'Boys just have it so easy.' And that's in the pilot. So I named the character Angela partly in honor of her. She also thought to destroy established stereotypes of parents and teenagers on television. To do this, she created the character Patty and her husband Graham, who were establishing their identities and discovering their incompatibility with traditional domestic tropes." Number 15. The series was filmed at a real high school in California. The series was depicted as being shot at Liberty High School in Pittsburgh. However, that location was entirely made up to fit into the storyline. The movie was shot at 11,800 Texas Avenue, West Los Angeles, in Los Angeles, California, USA. This was the University High School address based in Los Angeles, California. The school is included in nearly every episode of the series. It featured its classrooms, hallways, gym, front steps, bleachers, and even contained scenes of the exterior. Some episodes like The Pilot, Guns and Gossip, Self-Esteem, The Substitute, Life of Brian, and Betrayal are centered on school scenes. It is used for Angela's narrative and certain important moments with Jordan, Rayanne, Brian, and Ricky. This makes it safe to say that scenes shot in the high school were more than half of the movie itself, making the school the most filmed location, followed closely by Angela's house. The filming of the series took place while school was still in session. This would have posed a problem for production, so the students, teachers, and even the classes had to be shifted to other parts of the school. This move took them away from where production was set to take place. This location has since become a favorite for shooting high school movies. It was used in films like Seventh Heaven, Joan of Arcadia, and Arrested Development. IMDb lists the total number of times it has been used as a location for any movie as 34 times. Number 14, the series faced stiff competition which eventually led to its discontinuation. Each movie episode ran for 47 to 48 minutes and aired on Thursdays at 8 p.m. This time, slot put the show at a disadvantage. The ABC show had to directly compete with NBC's time favorites, Friends and Mad About You. That was not all. It also had to contend with Fox Channel's Martin and Living Single. This made the weekly viewership total about 10 million, making My So-Called Life the least popular primetime series on ABC, the most popular network. The series could not survive this onslaught of competition. It has a very short lifespan. It aired and produced only 19 episodes, and it was all produced within 9 months, from its premiere in August 1994 to its cancellation the following May. It was also never a hit movie, as it ranked as the 116th most-watched show of the 1994 to 1995 television season. It was also ranked the least-watched program of ABC overall. So even though the movie's line was authentic and viewers were hooked by its storyline, it was not one of the most popular shows ever. Number 13. Claire Danes' announcement that she would be unable to continue with the series halted all talks of reviving production. After the series was called off, an online fan campaign named Steve Joyner attempted to revive My So-Called Life. This was the first time that something of the sort had happened on the internet, and it happened at a time when less than 12% of U.S. households had internet access. This overwhelming pressure from fans made Ted Harbert commit to returning the series for a second season. However, after this pledge, Herskovitz revealed that Dane and her parents had approached the show's creators to tell the producers that she did not want to be involved if the show continued. Their reason was the arduous shooting schedule requiring her to balance schoolwork with rehearsal and time on set. Having learnt of Dane's decision, Holtzman also showed reluctance. She said, "When I realized that Claire truly did not want to do it anymore, it was hard for me to want to do it. The joy in writing the show was that everyone was behind it and wanted to do it." She also stated that in retrospect she believed it was a blessing that the show ended when they all enjoyed making it. The network didn't push, and the show was officially canceled on the 15th of May, 1995, for its far too narrow appeal. Although the fan campaign was unsuccessful in getting a second season, MTV decided to air repeats of the show a month before it ended. This move exposed even more people to the central idea behind the movie. In an Entertainment Weekly interview, Dane later insisted that she had no power to cause the show's cancellation alone. This position was later supported when Holtzman came up with the narrative that the network was on the fence about the show's renewal, and somehow Dane's decision presented them with a most convenient excuse. Number 12. Even though Tino is mentioned severally, the character is never portrayed. Tino is best described as an unseen character. This means he is a character mentioned but not directly known to the audience, even though he significantly advances the plot's action. It also means that his absence enhances his effect on the plot meaningfully. One thing we do know about Tino is that he willingly gives out his leftover Chinese food. However, there are no pictures of him, and he doesn't appear on screen. As Mental Floss puts it, the character of Tino was never seen. During the entire series run, the character of Tino was mentioned but never seen. Aside from the clues dropped by Rayanne and Jordan and the mentions he got from every other teenage character in the show, there is no other way to identify Tino. Jordan would emphatically describe him as the coolest kid in school. He was the one who seemed to know everyone and was the lead singer of Jordan's band. He could also get anyone a fake identity card or into an exclusive club and was known for having a car and hosting legendary parties. Although he is presented as cool-headed at the beginning, he is presented as one who is cool-headed. That description seemed misplaced as the series progressed. He is sometimes selfish, as in the episode After the Breakup. Even Jordan's attitude towards him bordered on frustration. The dismantling of frozen embryos makes his bandmates question, "What, are you the new Tino?" So Tino's character is double-faced. While on one hand he is someone to be adored and is sweet to have around, a sense of arrogance and ego also blinded him. This prevented him from gaining the most from his friends at Liberty High. Due to his display of different characters, we can deduce that he is either an attractive schizophrenic with questionable habits who loves getting free food, or a decent vocalist who could make any woman swoon over him. Number 11. The drummer for the Frozen Embryos was played by Shannon Leto. While we all know that Jared Leto played the role of Jordan Catalano, one thing most people do not realize is that his older brother, Shannon Leto, made a star guest appearance on the show. On this set, he was featured as Jordan Catalano's friend named Shane. In the movie, he was Jordan's dutiful right-hand man and the drummer of their band, Frozen Embryos. The Frozen Embryos were the name of the band Tino had started with Jordan, which also comprised Joey and Ralph. In the episode tagged On the Wagon, it is revealed that Tino quit the band. Jordan was then left with the dilemma as to whether or not to continue with the name Frozen Embryos. Later on in that same episode, Rayanne is recruited as the team's new singer but suffers from stage fright and runs off the Club Vertigo stage without singing at all, leaving Jordan to do the singing. The band would, however, change their name to Residue. Ironically, the two brothers later formed their band 30 Seconds to Mars. Together, as of 2023, they released 5 studio albums and toured several countries. Number 10. Jordan Catalano was only supposed to air in the pilot episode. The pilot of the series, which premiered on ABC on the 25th of August 1994, was written by series creator Winnie Holtzman and was directed by Scott Wynant. In the original script, Jared Leto was supposed to appear only in the pilot episode as Jordan Catalano. However, all of that changed when she saw Leto's acting skills. She then decided that she was going to make him a series regular. She said, "As soon as we got Jared on film, I knew we had to keep him as a continuing character." This decision, although concluded upon by the producers, met with a bit of difficulty. This was because Jared Leto was not very interested in acting then. He, in fact, has his mind set on attending art school. This led to trepidation on the part of Holtzman. She later told Vice that she was unsure of Jared Leto's decision to take on the Jordan Catalano role if it became a recurring character. In the interview, she said, "I remember not being positive that he wanted to do it. I was worried that he didn't want the part that much. He seemed to have ambivalent feelings." She did not have to worry for too long as the actor with the prettiest eyes, Jared Leto, finally decided to take the role. The movie saw him maximize his skills and even had him sing on the show. Number 9. Alicia Silverstone was once considered for the role of Angela Chase. Casting for any movie is one of the most technically challenging tasks in the movie industry. This is because while everyone else sees things from a surface level, the production team is busy looking to see whether the character's personality matches their role. This was the typical situation that faced when casting for Angela Chase. In an interview with Vulture, executive producer Marshall Herskovitz reiterated that their casting agent in New York had come up with 2 people she felt had to see. Those 2 were Alicia Silverstone and Claire Danes. Herskovitz decided that although Alicia was more beautiful, what she had envisaged for the character of Angels was a girl who shivers back and forth between being beautiful and being really. She felt that Alicia was overconfident about the role. However, as soon as Claire walked in, she saw a breathtaking 13-year-old girl who was also awkward. She recollects fondly, "We were all terrified of her. She was very quiet and reserved. Half the things she said were brilliant and half sounded like a 13-year-old. However, one thing was sure for Herskovitz, she had found her Angela." In 2013, Herskovitz once again spoke in an interview about casting Claire Danes for the role. She expressly told them that co-executive producer Edward Zwick had wanted to hire Silverstone for the role. However, she gave superficial reasons for making Alicia miss out on the role. She is recalled to have said that Alicia was so beautiful, which would have affected her world experience. People would have told her she was beautiful since she was 6. You can't put that face in what's been written for this girl. This is not to say that all the crew believed the casting decision at that time made sense. As casting director Linda Lowy correctly put it, it was a tough decision for the crew when they discovered that a 13-year-old Claire Danes was chosen over Alicia Silverstone, who was 16 and emancipated. Number 8. Even though Jordan and Jennifer share the surname Catalano, they are not related. The character of Jordan Catalano is very intriguing, and Jared Leto played him. The series exposes us to a male high school student whose primary love interest is Angela Chase. He was held back academically for 2 years, and Angela determined that this was because he might have had dyslexia. This is partly proven when he is diagnosed as a rudimentary reader with low literacy skills during peer tutoring. This made him avoid every other class but physical education, shop, and English for half the season. He is portrayed as half Italian, smokes cigarettes, and loves his car fiercely. He is also said to put business in his eyes, but unfortunately, he was also a victim of domestic violence. Fans also know him to be a multi-talented friend of Tino who sings, plays the guitar, and writes songs for the frozen embryo. However, here's what most people do not know. In the earlier draft written for the pilot of the series, his full name was written as Jordan Veneziano. It, however, was changed to Catalano. This name change was believed to have been inspired by the assistant's last name to the CEO executive producer, Jennifer Catalano. It was not a big deal, since the initial script only required him to appear in the pilot episode. However, the name stuck when the producers saw the need for a contract extension. Jordan Catalano was not the only name inspired by members of the crew. For instance, Diane Driscoll had to share the name Driscoll with Nikki, who was the dead kid from Halloween. Also, the name Mr. Katimski is believed to have originated from the story editor's name, Jason Katims. So while Jordan Catalano and Jennifer Catalano share the same last name, one was born of genetics and the other to etch the Catalano's name in the sands of time. Number 7. Before A.J. Langer was cast as Rayanne, she auditioned for Angela. In the movie, we are exposed to the character Rayanne, who stands out for having a bold fashion statement. She is portrayed as a neglected teenager whose mother is a nurse who works long hours and dated hard. As for her father, he was negligent and barely communicated with her at all. Rayanne embodied everything bold, beautiful, spontaneous, or bright. It is evident that she was lacking a father figure and wanted one. But that wasn't the only parent she wanted more from. While grateful for her mother, she wished her mom were more supportive of her. She also wished her mother were anyone else but Amber, especially regarding support. She was shown to cower only once. This was on the stage where she was to sing with the frozen embryo. She developed stage fright. In the end, Jordan had to sing her part. However, most fans do not know that before she auditioned for the role that everyone believes she perfectly embodied, she had auditioned for the role of Angela. However, when Dane was cast, she came back to re-audition. This time, Rayanne Graff and she got the role. Number 6. Claire Danes needed a bigger supporting cast as she worked on a restricted number of hours. Having decided that Claire Danes was the perfect fit for the role of Angela, one would have expected her to be cast many times on the show. However, because she was only 13 when she was cast on the show, her age proved to be an obstacle, as they had to comply with the child labor laws. It meant they were limited in the number of hours she could work. Holtzman's disposition toward her, if not for her age, was to ensure that she was in every scene. As she says, "I was so in awe of Claire that I would have put her in every scene." But this ended up being a creatively stimulating problem to have. This ultimately meant she had to fill the spaces Angela would have been in with substitute characters, widening the movie's scope. This created certain plot twists that were interesting to watch. They came up with stories surrounding her parents, Patty and Graham, characters played by Bess Armstrong and Tom Irwin respectively, who were going through a tough patch in their marriage. Thus, they made her mother look like that indecisive teenager that every child is, questioning her decision-making skills. We are also exposed to the growing warmth of affection between Sharon and Rayanne, who would later marry a British aristocrat and become the Countess of Devon. One would also recognize the script's tilt towards the newly found understanding between Brian and Jordan. Yet, despite the age restriction, Danes bedazzled everyone by displaying her innate gifts as an actor, to the extent that Herskovitz acknowledged that, "We were all so afraid of her when we did the show." In this case, Fear is in awe of her abilities, as she recalls Fanes being able to channel intense emotions on cue, take after take. She said, "It was like this person is from another planet because no 13-year-old could do what she was doing," which was not just completely real and authentic, but repeatable. Number 5. The series creator, Winnie Holtzman, made a cameo. Before the movie production began, the series writer, Winnie Holtzman, had gone to a high school for a while where she taught and discussed with a few teenagers, noting their experiences and reliving what it meant to be a teenager. Perhaps this was the reason for her cameo, or not. One thing is sure, She liked to make cameo appearances on the scripts she had written. My So-Called Life was no exception. Here she played the role of a teacher, Mrs. Krzyzanowski Kathy, who graduated from the University of Pittsburgh. She is a guidance counselor and advisor at Liberty High School. She also serves as Rayanne's drug counselor and substitutes for English class during Angela, Jordan, and Brian's class periods. She made an appearance in one episode. This was in episode 4 of the 19th episodic narrative, which was tagged Father Figures. Number 4. This was one of Kaley Cuoco's first acting roles. While Kaley Cuoco was just launching into acting as a child actor in the early 1990s, she took up several roles where she was depicted as the younger version of a main character during flashback sequences. My So-Called Life was the first show of that nature for her. In episode 4 of the series, she appeared tagged Father Figures in a scene where Angela's now teenage self recollects her father, Graham, brushing her hair tenderly. However, her role in the movie is not credited at the end of the episode. 2 years later, at the age of 10, she would go on to play the younger version of Ellen DeGeneres in one episode of Ellen, and from there on, she built herself up enough till she became the globally acclaimed actress she now is. Number 3. The movie did not complete the scheduled episodes to complete a season. May 15, 1995 was the annual press conference where networks announced their schedules for the following fall. The day after this, the ABC network announced the show's cancellation on the 16th day. The show, which had been designed with 22 episodes in mind for the first season, had aired only 19 episodes at the time of the cancellation. The reason cited by the network for this was the low ratings the movie received. Despite the online campaigns to revive the show, it all resulted in the same results. Their minds had been made up. Even though the movie received positive reviews from critics, it never received high ratings. Holtzman recalls that the network was being indecisive, not knowing where their loyalty lay. They sometimes ask, who is the show for? Is it for adults or teens? Number 2. Bess Armstrong had an interesting nickname. Bess Armstrong, the mother of Angela and Daniela and wife to Graham on My So-Called Life, was played by Patty Chase. Her full name was Patricia Wood Chase. She had been adopted by foster parents Chuck and Vivian. She had once tried looking for her biological parents, but it was to no avail. She had attended the same high school as Camille and Graham, even though she had not known Graham throughout her school days. She was not just popular, but had bagged the Queen Bee title and was very popular and pretty, a fact she would recall when things went south between her and Graham. She was so popular at the time that the prom was postponed when she was absent due to the removal of her appendix. She dealt with role strain for an extended period as she ran Wood & Jones Printing, which she took over when Chuck became too sick to work and eventually retired. She also had to balance being a wife with being a good mother. This strong, beautiful, but shattered woman featured in all 19 episodes of My So-Called Life was given an endearing nickname by the actress Mary Kay Place, Sharon Chersky. The nickname was Precious Poodle. Number 1. Ricky Vasquez dealt with many themes, but he and Jordan Catalano eventually bonded over domestic violence. Social issues have been around for many years. However, many movie producers focused on one or two of these social problems, forgetting that there was a gap to be filled that no one else would, however not for the production team of My So-Called Life. Some social issues it addresses include child abuse, homophobia, teenage alcoholism, homelessness, and school violence, just to mention a few. Unlike in other movies where there is a resolution for issues like this, these problems were manifest as a part of the continuing storyline. A typical example is just before winter break, when Ricky resumes school with a black eye, claiming to have fallen after slipping on ice. Angela did not need to be told that he was lying. Rayanne then tells Angela of Rick's habit of getting beaten up, which indirectly implies that that wasn't the first time it happened. Then, when he was kicked out of his uncle's house, Ricky was spotted by Jordan, who was already an acquaintance, and was offered to give Ricky a ride. He then, during the ride, reveals that his father used to beat him up so badly, but had stopped, especially after he threw a chair at him in self-defense. His father had only stopped out of fear. Ricky responds that he will light a candle and pray for him on Christmas Eve. Jordan then takes Ricky to an abandoned warehouse dominated by homeless people and takes Angela to where Ricky was when she was distressed about his sudden disappearance. That episode helped us understand why Ricky was terrified of his uncle. It also helped explain Jordan's quiet but reserved nature. This episode 15 sought to bring to the fore the internal issues many teenagers are going through but are scared to reveal for the sake of piety. It also showed how these incidents formed to make up the kind of adults these teenagers were likely to become. When movies dare to portray what goes on in their audience's lives, the impact is always so profound that it could change the entirety of a generation. The show might have stopped airing because of some uncontrollable circumstances. However, one thing was certain: the mark left on individuals would never be forgotten in a hurry. What do you think about this story? Please share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed watching this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.